6 years? That was how long I believed my marriage was built on love, trust, and loyalty. 6 birthdays, 6 anniversaries, countless dreams, and thousands of promises. I never imagined everything would collapse because of the two people I trusted the most, my husband and my younger sister. My name is Emma, and this is the story of how betrayal destroyed my life and how it unexpectedly gave me a much better one. The signs had been there for months, but I ignored them. My husband Daniel had become distant. He worked late almost every night. He smiled at his phone more than he smiled at me. Whenever I asked if something was wrong, he would kiss my forehead and say, "You're overthinking." I wanted to believe him. After all, we'd built a life together. We owned a small home, shared dreams of having children, and talked about growing old together. Why would I suspect anything? Then there was my younger sister, Lily. She had recently moved back into town after losing her apartment. Since she was struggling financially, I invited her over often. Sometimes she'd stay for dinner. Sometimes she'd even spend weekends at our house. She was family. I thought I was helping her. I had no idea I was inviting disaster into my home. Everything changed on a rainy Thursday afternoon. I had left work early because I wasn't feeling well. When I opened the front door, I noticed Daniel's shoes. That was strange. He was supposed to be at work. Then I heard laughter upstairs. A woman's laughter. I quietly walked toward our bedroom. Every step felt heavier than the last. When I opened the door, my world stopped. Daniel and Lily stood frozen. Neither of them spoke. Neither of them even tried to hide what they had done. I looked at my sister. She couldn't even meet my eyes. Daniel finally whispered, "Emma, I can explain." "No," I replied. "You can't." The following days felt like a nightmare. Daniel admitted they had been seeing each other for almost 8 months. 8 months. While I was cooking dinners, planning vacations, and believing our marriage could survive anything. They had been building a relationship behind my back. But the betrayal didn't end there. When my parents found out, I expected them to support me. Instead, my mother sighed. "These things happen." I stared at her. "What?" She continued. "Daniel says he's happier with Lily." My father simply remained silent. It felt like everyone had chosen their side, and it wasn't mine. Within 2 months, Daniel moved out. A few weeks later, he moved in with my sister. I cried every night. Some mornings I couldn't even get out of bed. I questioned everything. Was I not pretty enough? Was I boring? Had I failed as a wife? Depression became my constant companion. One afternoon, I looked into the bathroom mirror and barely recognized myself. Red eyes, messy hair, no hope. That's when something inside me changed. I asked myself one question. If everyone has abandoned me, why am I still abandoning myself? That single thought changed everything. I started small. Morning walks, reading books, cooking healthy meals, therapy. Little by little I began healing. Then I remembered something I'd always loved. Baking. Friends had always told me I should open my own bakery. It laughed it off. Now I had nothing left to lose. I used my savings, rented a tiny shop, bought second-hand equipment, worked 16 hours a day. Some days only 2 customers walked in. Other days nobody came, but I refused to quit. A local food blogger visited my bakery one Saturday. She posted pictures of my homemade cinnamon rolls. The next morning, people lined up outside my shop. Within months, I had to hire employees. Then I opened a second location, then a third. 3 years after my divorce, my business was worth millions. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was thriving. During a charity event, I met someone unexpected. His name was Michael. He wasn't impressed by my money. He wasn't interested in my past. He simply treated me with kindness. He listened. He laughed at my terrible jokes. He respected my boundaries. For the first time in years, I felt safe. Our relationship grew slowly. No games, no lies, no secrets. 2 years later, he proposed. Not with an expensive ring, not with a dramatic speech. Just one sentence. "I promise to choose you every single day." I cried, because those were the words I'd waited my entire life to hear. Meanwhile, Daniel's life was falling apart. My sister had left him for someone else. The relationship that destroyed my marriage lasted less than 2 years. His job was gone. His savings disappeared. He had become someone I barely recognized. One afternoon, my office receptionist called. "There's someone asking to see you." I walked downstairs. There he stood. Danielle? Older. Tired? Broken. "I just want 5 minutes," he said. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We sat across from each other in silence. Finally he spoke. "I made the biggest mistake of my life." I said nothing. I thought I was chasing happiness. Still nothing. I lost everything. He looked directly at me. I never stopped loving you. For a moment, I remembered the man I'd once married. The memories hurt, but they no longer controlled me. I smiled politely. I'm sorry things turned out that way. His eyes filled with hope. So can we try again? I gently shook my head. No. He looked shocked. Why? I answered honestly. Because the woman you left behind no longer exists. I stood up. You didn't just leave a marriage. You destroyed trust. You betrayed my love. You chose someone else. And while you were busy replacing me, I learned how to replace my pain with purpose. He lowered his head. I've changed. I'm glad, I replied. But your growth doesn't require my return. A few months later, my parents contacted me. For years they'd barely spoken to me. Now they wanted to reconnect. I agreed to meet them. Not because they deserved forgiveness, but because I deserved peace. My mother cried throughout lunch. We were wrong. My father finally spoke. We should have protected you. Those words came years too late. Still, I accepted their apology. Forgiveness isn't always about fixing relationships. Sometimes it's about freeing yourself from carrying anger forever. The following spring, Michael and I were married. It wasn't a huge wedding, just close friends. People who had stood beside me during my darkest days. As I walked down the aisle, I wasn't thinking about betrayal anymore. I wasn't thinking about revenge. I wasn't thinking about Daniel. I was thinking about the woman it'd become. Someone stronger, kinder, braver, someone who had survived a heartbreak without allowing it to define her. Years later, I occasionally hear updates about Daniel and Lily. Their lives went in completely different directions. Mine did too. The difference was simple. I stopped chasing people who didn't value me. Instead, I built a life that reflected my own worth. Looking back now, I realized something surprising. Losing my husband wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to me. It was the beginning of everything beautiful that came afterward. Sometimes the people who walk away from your life aren't taking your future with them. They're making room for the future you were always meant to have. And that's why when Daniel finally came back, he wasn't too late because I had found someone else. He was too late because I had finally found myself